Gina McDonald says, you think Jesus is like Asclepius? Sure.
Oh,
Why not?
God.
Why not? He's a better one than Asclepius.
You know who else? So this is perfect to bring this up. Ashman. Now, Derek, are you familiar with Ashman? I showed you Ashman before.
Yes.
Can I just pull up my tab that I have?
You may, my friend. You may.
Let's see. Ashman. This is going to shock some people. I think. I really do. I want to explore Ashman. I'm trying to find some scholars who write about Ashman. It's not a lot. It's like those are like middle of the 20th century people.
Hey, real quick, I just got to address this while you're bringing this up here.
Yeah.
Why are our atheists so obsessed about Jesus? So I
used
know.
to be a Christian,
I just want to point out something. You know, there's only over 2 billion people who worship the guy. I mean, it's not like people aren't obsessed about Jesus, who believe in him. I mean, it's not like people who believe aren't impacting us socially, ethically. It's not like people in my family aren't suffering from trauma through the religious stuff of believing hell's a real place. It's not like this is something worth trying to dissect and take away those harms, you know, to give you real education on what's actually happening. It's not like that's worth.
And we have people in our government right now, like, you know, Marjorie Green, not to get too political, but like, let's be real, Marjorie Green Taylor, Lauren Boebert, and others who literally invoke Christianity for their ways of pushing law and like forcing laws that affect people's lives because the Bible said so. And then you have people in our Senate right now who claim that they think that we should have a theocracy, that the government should be listening to the church. And if you think I'm making this up, I made a video on this. Just watch my video, and then if I'm wrong, you know, write me a comment or something. But I'm not just making this up trying to scare people. It is legit. People in our government do want there to be a Christian.
I just want to make the point, though, that the comment, though, is a worthy one. Why do ex-Mormons like the Backyard Professor, who's in our chat right now, why do people like him in every video go in and show you, and there he is right there, show you how Joseph Smith wasn't right, the Book of Mormon is man-made, show you flaws and problems, the Book of Abraham, the list goes on, debunking the religion he was obsessed with and worshiped the guy and practically followed. Why is it that ex-Muslims talk about Islam and Muhammad and debunk the Quran and spend their time doing that? Sure, there is some animosity being kind of pulled over your head. You've been tricked for so long to think this is the truth. Absolutely. But at the same time, there's a point in which while you're debunking something, you're also falling in love with the reality of what it actually is, not what you've been told. And that is knowing what this literature really is. I mean, if this literature is written as mythic, cultic practicing, storytelling, interesting narratives, not literal, don't take this too far. What we've seen become the power struggle and the literalness of it over time with our creeds and our political gain of you need to believe our particular version of Christianity in the whole nine and then tell the whole world they're going to hell, be damned if you don't. You know, we're trying to win it back away from the grips of people like that, because I don't think that's how it was initially intended. I really don't. I really don't think that's how it was initially intended, but
I agree.
know what I mean.
All right. This is from encyclopedia.com, and it's got tons of sources on the bottom you could check out and look into this stuff. That's what I'm just letting you know. This is what we're just going to read. I'm just reading through this because I don't have anything myself. Like I don't have any like Ashman, Phoenician healer god, later identified with Asclepius. I mean, you even have writers like such as Philo of Byblos, I think it is, who says that he is the Asclepius of Beirut. I'll show you that in a second. The patron of medicine by the Greeks. And by the way, the reason why I'm reading this is because of the super chatter. If you want to pull that up.
Yeah.
Which one? Like Ashman.
Absolutely.
Or can Jesus be like Asclepius?
Right.
When I heard when you said Asclepius, I wanted to pull this up.
Okay.
Ashman basically is Asclepius of Beirut. Okay. He's the healer god. He's depicted with holding with the staff with the serpent around it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, he seems to be attested since the 3rd millennium BCE. Like,
that's it. I'm just kidding.
We're going back to the cuneiform days before the alphabet. Though his physiognomy becomes clear only in the 1st millennium. The etymology of Ashman clearly connects him with oil. Think about what is a Christ? What is a Messiah? The oiled one, right? Oil. which had a therapeutic and ritual functions. By the way, this is a cult that's right above Galilee. Right above Galilee. In relationship with the kingship in the Near East, the Ebla archives, the theophoric element Shmenua is found in some personal names, written in Sumerian, meaning oil. In the ritual text of Ugarit in the late Bronze Age, the god Shmon is mentioned as a beneficiary of offerings. Ultimately, nothing is known about the functions or the role of this god in the Syrian pantheons, but his connection with oil must indicate that he was the one who oils, the one who heals. This surely is the main reason why Ashman was later assimilated with Asclepius.
So at least we know that at least that much about this deity, that the Greeks thought it worthy of assimilating Ashman into Asclepius.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this for one more second because this is he's the son of Siddiq. Okay, this is crazy. Siddiq. Think about this. Melchizedek. This is the same group.
You skipped his occasional interpretatio of as Apollo, for example, in Carthage. Is also based on the same background because Apollo was also a salvific god.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, so the reason why we know this, there's two tombs that by the way, there's a tomb of Ashman in Lebanon, his burial site. But there's also these two kings, Ashmanezer and Ashmanezer II. If you translate his name, Ashman saves. That's the name of Ashmanezer. He's a savior. He's a salvation god. And he's the son of Siddiq. Siddiq means justice. Melchizedek is the root word. Actually, I have the I'm going to switch my source for a second real quick.
Okay.
I want to switch over to Melchizedek, or this Siddiq god real quick. This is even more interesting. Cuz Siddiq righteousness, and then you could even go down, people are already, you got all these sources that are hypothesizing that Sedek is like this, they're connected, like
the Jews that were the what are the, is it
Sadducees? Yeah, there might be some sort of connection with the Sadducees in this. Now that's whatever, that's the hypothesis, that's fine, but check this out, right? When you go to Ashman, and I'm going to get to his myth in a second. His story is even wilder. He is Siddiq, or Siddiq, or whatever his name is, has 7 sons with a god, and then another 8th son with a mortal woman,
the Dioscuri.
Yeah, that's the name of this.
Listen, the Dioscuri is mentioned by Justin Martyr when he compares Jesus with the sons of Zeus and the Dioscuri.
Right. Yeah,
he literally compares Jesus directly with this name.
Now, this is something I noticed that no one else is talking about. Okay, he's the 8th son, right? Well, so I noticed that Jesus' gematria is 888. That's like way in the weeds, but no. This is better. This is better. Guess who's the 8th son in the Bible? Ready for this?
I can't remember who was. I remember something, but I can't remember.
David is the 8th son of Jesse. Jesse has 7 sons to one mother, and David is by himself to another.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, you don't see that?
I mean, numbers, man. I gotta have like tons of data for me to get into. But I do see that. I mean,
liar. He's a Messiah. He's the anointed king.
This is a good point. So now you've got oil, right? Who had the oil poured over them? Only David. Right?
He's and the he plays son. The liar. You got the Apollo imagery there.
So you would need to get a list for me, right? I'm very cautious to even accept stuff.
Dude, I know.
But if we had a list and we were saying this checks off, at least I see something of a mirage.
No, I don't blame you for this. This does not prove it at all.
Yeah, but dude, this could be. It could be.
It could
you know
be,
what I mean?
I'm throwing a hypothesis. The last thing I want before we're done with Ashman.
I want to get to your Eurycleia stuff.
Yeah, I want to
because I have something of a surprise.
I got to read this though. This is the story of Ashman. Is it in here? I think it was in here. Oh, Photius saying that Asclepius of Beirut was a youth who was fond of hunting. So you already have this, like, is it like Adonis? Adonis is a hunter, right? He was seen by the goddess Astrone, or Astarte, which is like a Near Eastern Venus goddess type, who so harassed him with amorous pursuit. In desperation, he castrated himself and dies. So he dies. Astrone then named the Paeon healer, restored him from life, from the warmth of her body, and then changed him into a god. He has an apotheosis. He comes back, he returns from his death.
I mean, this is so even
Dying
this
rising Attis.
I was gonna say, this is not just that he resuscitates, right? Comes back from the dead the same way you kind of see Jesus depicted coming back from the dead, and is pictured in Luke and John as physically alive, right? And back, but has become a god. This blew me away. I never thought about this like this, what you're bringing up here, Neil, because Richard C. Miller brings up the reason Thomas has to touch Jesus' side, and then when he does, his immediate response, if you pull up the source in John chapter 20 or whatever it is, he says, "My Lord, my God," after he knows he's physically alive again, according to the narrative, of course. Well, that was the symbol of someone becoming a god. The way you knew they were God is if they were really dead and they came back, but they were physically actually in a body. Yeah. They had become a god. That's why there's a confusion over him being a phantom or a ghost.
Yeah.
And in the Thomasine tradition, which is very Gnostic, they thought he was phantomy. Right. They said, no, he's a god, which is why Thomas is my Lord, my God, you know.
Last thing I want to say, this is my final word on Ashman. So when you read that myth right there was a lot of synchronisms happening. He's a hunter like Adonis. He castrates himself and dies like Attis. He's a healer like Asclepius. That's like a lot of. There's also some Tammuz stuff going on there. This is way before Jesus. So you already have in the Near East, right where Galilee, right north of Galilee, like we're talking 45 minutes from Galilee, half an hour away. We're right there. You can look on a map. I'll show you if you want. But that's whatever. You can look that up yourselves. You had this synchronistic healer, dying and rising vegetation god, right where Jesus shows up. And what I'm saying is, some of these early Christians are thinking of Jesus in this way. Right. So I'm wondering, is this how Jesus gets legendized?
What's the name of the guy, the early Christian?
The Nicene preacher. Thank you.
Yeah.
The Nicene preacher had a hymn to Attis. And the hymn to Attis, blessed one, whether you're born of Kronos, Zeus or Rhea, I loudly hail thee Attis. You the Assyrians call thrice desired Adonis. Egypt calls you Osiris. We always talk about Osiris and Jesus. Samothracians call you Adamus. Phrygians Pappus, a corpse. That's dying and rising imagery right there. Yep. A god, unfruitful goat, green hair, fruitful almond board, player of the pipes. He took that Homeric hymn to Attis and then reapplied it to Jesus.